Y'all are on page 2. Couldn't get you up front. Got Chad on.
Oh.
Great.
Thank you.
So that would be.
I'll laugh.
Kill switch right here. You can print.
So just say contact. And I'll say.
Yeah.
What I saw.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, you look everything's on the top. Pyramid.
Right. It's funny, Harold and I were talking about that same thing today. How the truck, there's 2 or 3 streets and just stop and go somewhere else. Come back later.
There's different reasons why.
Right.
I think
Good morning. Hey, Steve,
Hey.
there's still room tomorrow, right?
Huh?
Tomorrow in rain. There's
Yeah.
still,
Oh, yeah, that's,
because I'll make an announcement.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's just a
Don't you ever say no? That's it.
You don't want to go. You don't want to get up at 7 o'clock.
Well, Constance already sent me an email. See, I'm always the last to find out. He said, your baby. You can't make it. It just happened today. We can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the bad thing, but that's what we need.
They got donuts and coffee.
There will be donuts and biscuits and coffee.
I heard donuts is not.
Yeah, you're welcome to come.
7:30.
Leave your home.
Might be able to early.
Yeah, I can see where 7:30 would be a bit, would be pushing it. How you doing? Good.
That's why I waited. That's why I waited to make coffee.
Good. How are you?
Good seeing you. How you doing, man?
All right, y'all ready? We will start with Public Works. Alderman Jeff Dorey. Tell him to stop, stop disrupting the.
Okay. All right. I'll now open Public Works. The quorum is present. And the first thing on the agenda is Public Works Director Albert John will give his report.
Good afternoon. I have 2 pieces of equipment to let you guys know about. The sweeper is down. I ordered parts this morning. I expect to get them by next Wednesday or Thursday, and hopefully have the machine back together by next Friday. So, yeah, next Friday. It's 5 to 7 days for the parts. It's got to come from the factory, and they're telling me it could be quicker than 5 days. So I'm thinking Wednesday. I'm hoping Wednesday of next week we have it. Probably take a half a day to put the machine back, make sure everything's operating right. And that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Could go till the following week, the beginning. Hope not. The other thing is a tractor on the interstate that they use to cut grass. The disconnect popped on it. We ordered the parts. I think the parts will be in tomorrow because that happened Monday. We got the parts ordered Monday and they said 3 days. So that tractor should be up possibly more if the parts come in the morning. And that's all I have. Any questions?
So the street sweeper and the tractor for the interstate both broke Monday.
Yes.
Yeah. Monday was a good day for him.
Yeah, he picked up, I had him out sweeping, he picked up 4 loads off of 12th, and you can actually see where it broke. But, and I drove the historical this afternoon, so.
Okay. If you don't mind, talk about the lights on the interstate that we've been working on.
Sure. We spent, last 2 weeks, we spent 4 mornings out on the interstate changing lights on the high mast poles. There are quite a few bulbs that aren't lit, and that, from what it tells me, could be a capacitor or a ballast. We don't have any that has less than 5 lights, which is half of the lights on a pole. Each pole has 10 lights. I've gotten with the mayor, because we're gonna have, oh, it was pretty loud down there.
That's good. That's good.
So, anyway, yesterday I actually had Ed Gidry come out and do all the ones at Burger King, because they had about 5 out, and that's one of the entrances to the city. So as of this morning, when I checked them, they're all lit. I've had him work on 2. Now, there isn't, we've actually exceeded the amount of money that's in the budget for those lights. It's not $750. You know, I mean, I guarantee you we spent $5,000, just the bulbs alone, because we changed over 40 bulbs. There's 13 poles out there with 10 lights, 10 bulbs to each pole. So, what I asked Ed was to give me an estimate of what it would cost for 1 light to change the ballast. That would be worst case scenario. And I think he told me that maybe ballast right now we're running about 120. He hasn't given me the number yet, plus the labor. Okay. So the mayor and I were going to get together with the number of lights and see if we can get some money in the budget, the next budget, go ahead and pull them all down and change all the ballots and get them all back lit. There is a problem with 2 of the poles, other problems, which can be handled. One of the cords needs to be changed. We changed on that same pole about 7 years ago. But I used the same contractor that put those poles up. But Ed tells me he thinks he can do that same job, which is EP Grove out of New Iberia. The other problem is the last pole on the eastbound on-ramp. There's a bullet hole in one of the bulbs and 2 of the others are cracked. And I've never run into that. I've never had that happen. Now, I did call EP Grove Monday to see if they were available. I just have to pull out the books, paperwork that I believe you gave me a schematic just to get the specs to see if he can get those closed. That'll be something else that'll have to be added into the next, because I don't believe they're going to be cheap. You know, I don't think they're going to be exorbitant, but you know, it's not a $100 fixture.
How tall are those poles?
124 feet. Yes, sir.
What's the cost to convert one of those bulbs to a LED bulb?
Ed told me yesterday, they were talking about it, it's $1,200 per bulb. $1,100 to $1,200, so you're looking at around $12,000 just for the bulbs if you converted 1 pole, not including the labor.
Have we gotten with Cleco to see if that would be something that they would be interested in helping with? Because they're converting a lot of people over from the old bulb systems into LEDs.
I think that would be something for Tim to look into. That project, you were on the beginning of that project, you dealt with DOTD. I don't know, I was just asked to maintain maintenance on it. So, I'm not sure what you need for that is, I'm sure you'd have to go through DOTD, right? To see what their specs are now, if they're changing them anywhere. I was gonna ask EP Bro when I spoke to him again, which should be hopefully tomorrow, if they have actually converted any, to get an idea, maybe where they have, and if so, how many. So.
Right. Are these serviced by Cleco as far as electricity?
Cleco to the south, some goes to the north. They're split. That's the way they were set up. You were with Clinco at that time, weren't you? Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. And if Gilbert's here, I don't see Gilbert here, but if Gilbert on things here, we can have the, street commissioners.
Yeah, Gilbert is not here. He did, turn in his report. I cut and removed, trees on East Hutchinson and in South Crowley Park. I'll tell you that I'm asking them to clean up the trees in the parks, lift the canopies so that we can see across those parks and not have them, so wooded and, not get rid of the trees, but except on, West 7th and 8th Street, East 7th and 8th Street. That park, I've asked that we get rid of any of the trees that are not live oak trees. There's some cypress trees there. There's a couple of other trees, but I promise, there's one that was posted on Facebook, actually, that was asked why we don't get rid of it. It's not a evergreen tree like the live oaks that are in that park, and so it looks dead. However, it's not dead, but that's one of the trees that we'll get rid of. It probably won't be noticed that those trees will be gone once they're gone, because that park has a lot of live oaks in it. But they've been working on some of that stuff in between storm drainage and all of those different things. So grass cutting season is up. Cutting grass on Parkinson, Highway 90, Highway 13, at the depot, Levy Park, Hutchinson, South Crowley Park, the Enterprise, Dussault Park, MLK, Myers, and Freeland Park. They cut the bridges on both exits and also the islands. They have put some reclaim in some driveways as citizens have asked on the city right-of-ways. Picked up trash and debris, obviously. Set up the stage. They set up the stage for Mardi Gras at the Enterprise Center. After Mardi Gras, they tore it down and set it up in Levy Park for preparation for greetings from Levy Park. And of course, barricades for Mardi Gras and stuff. They helped with all of that. They've been staying busy, so they were cutting a couple of trees down in South Crowley today too. But that's his report.
Thank you, Mayor. The trees in the parks, Hub Park next to my house, years ago, they had no trees at the park when I was a kid. You know, that's a long time ago.
Jeff, those are some really big live oak trees in that park. Right? I'm not saying how long, but
That's enough from you. But anyway, they planted, and it's really nice, but they planted more than they needed because of the fact that some would die and they all did. Yeah, what we're having now, and some of the residents, they're kind of like, can you do something about it? It shadows the lighting that we have. We have plenty of lighting, but you can't get through the trees. But it's making all the ground sink where it never dries up until the middle of the summer, you know? Like right now, they can't even go in that park. Like if you just double check that.
And that may be something that we can look at and, look, I'm not opposed to thinning out trees where we need to. I don't want anybody to threaten my life because we're getting rid of some live oak trees that may need to be thinned out. But you're right, there's, in a lot of our parks, there are definitely more trees than need be. They're causing a lot more harm in a lot of places than they are helping.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think they overplanted on purpose, but they
They all live.
live. So. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much, Gilbert. And we'll move on to our city engineer, Mr. Tim Mayer.
Thank you, Jeff. Nothing like gray hair and remembering big live oak trees when they were Saturdays. two action items on your Public Works Committee agenda are for me to present. You have a copy of my engineer's report in your packets. If you will turn to page 4, the bottom part of that page has to do with contract A for the Legend Construction. Because of the short month of February and the short week of Mardi Gras, we were not able to get these numbers because we use a cutoff date every month of the 25th, that was Saturday. So I'm going to ask you to approve partial payment estimate number 15 in an amount that I will present to council at the regular meeting. Meantime, as I did last month, we started this at the request of the mayor last month, is I will send you the actual partial payment estimate document, and it'll have those numbers in it. So you will be approving something here that has blanks in it, but I'll make sure you get that information in plenty of time before the meeting, and then please call me if you have any questions about anything that's on the partial payment estimate. So if you would, please consider approving partial payment estimate number 15 to Glenn Leger for contract A in an amount to be presented to the council at the regular meeting on March 8th.
Do we need a motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, action item 2 on the agenda is at the top of page 5. This is contract B. Everything I just said about contract A is likewise here. You would be approving partial payment estimate number 10 for contract B in an amount to be presented to council next Wednesday.
Also moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Any kind of discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Right, those are the only 2 action items I have in Public Works. I'd be happy to answer any questions about those contracts or any other updates that I have in my engineer's report.
All right. I see here a discussion item, and I have one.
Oh, okay.
Let's discuss the street program in this way. People are starting to worry about, did they leave us behind? You know, because the crew moves from here to there and wherever. Sometimes they're not even in town, so they're questioning, where are we? And where are they gonna be next? Because up on the north end, they started and then moved on, and they're starting to think they were forgotten about. So could we get something to inform the people, no, you're not forgotten about. We're gonna be moving pretty soon on to some other areas.
Sure. Let me give you an answer here, and then I can get with Steve if he wants to
That's good.
take a quote from me about it. Contractor, especially in the Beauvoir area, was removing and replacing curbing. He really wasn't doing much else. He might have been doing patching in that area, but contractors are very difficult to nail down about where did they move from to where, and why are they moving, what is the reason behind it. It ordinarily has to do with his ability to apply men and equipment to various different kinds of construction work. I can assure you and the citizens of Crowley that we're not going to forget any place that hasn't had overlay or patching, and we actually closing in on the end of the project. If you refer to my report, we're hoping for completion by April 26th is the deadline, the contractual deadline. And it appears if weather holds, we should be able to make that deadline. So the good news there is we're going to be in those areas within the next month in order to be finished by April 26th.
That's good. I just didn't want to tell them anything that I didn't know what I was talking about, so, very good.
Jeff. I'll add a little confusion to that, because I called AJ today. Double L asked me when they would be completing the road in front of his place, because he's got a car show that's coming up this month. And, you know, the dust, and I mean, the First Street in front, on the side of Double L actually, is milled, so it's, it's dusty and rocks and stuff. And so I called AJ, and they did H, both lanes for a block, and then just one lane for the next block. They did Front Street, and then they did G. G's wide enough for almost 3 lanes, and they did the 2 outsides against the curb and gutter, but they didn't do the middle. And so Jamie's like, I don't understand what's going on here. So I called AJ, and AJ had some of those same explanations that they got to a point there, and then they had to move over to another area that they needed to complete by a deadline. So remember, there's 2 contracts, and so there's different aspects of the job going on, and it's extremely complicated to understand. I still don't understand why they did it the way they did it there, but he assured me that they would be back in that area to finish that before that business's event happened. So it's really hard to understand why, but and I get phone calls too, asking when they're going to do their road or whatnot. Tim and I were actually riding around last Friday afternoon, looking at many things, and there was a couple of sections of road that he was concerned about and made phone calls to find out what was going on about it and got his answers. But again, as Tim said, I assure you, we will not leave anyone left out. Before they get their final payment, they're going to finish the job. That's right.
Okay. Thank you very much, both of you guys. If there's any...
I just want to say, on an upside, I've noticed that the contractors have done some really good do-overs where they had to go back, and it looks really good. There's on Avenue K, also L. So I see all over the city doing different jobs, either laying down, taking up, and relaying down. And I know that you probably have on the list of repair areas that we talked about, and I see that happening when I go out and watch the workers.
You know you're watching. That brings up a point that I need to tell you, because I think it'll relax how you feel about this project and eventually having to accept it. We're going to have a final inspection that we will get with each ward, both councilmen in each ward, and ride your ward and answer any questions you have. That certainly is going to be an opportunity to look for what was a section inadvertently left out. The contractor's not going to want to leave anything out ahead of the final inspection. The final inspection usually is when he's gone, he's in another city somewhere. He doesn't have to come back and finish something because he left it out. So there will be an opportunity for each councilman, when we ride your district, to make sure that nothing's left behind and that we answer your questions about what the final product looks like.
Tim, regarding the final route, we do have an inspector on this project that's making sure that the project's done in accordance with the plans and specs. And just, I'm concerned that, when we ride out, we're not experts in asphalt paving. And I want to make sure that, it's not just left up to the council to make that final decision, but with some assistance that the inspector has also looked at our streets, and it's up to his, in his opinion, that the job is done properly and things aren't left out. Is that part of your role as well?
Well, the contractor's not going to insure anything. He's there to observe.
But the inspector, though.
That's what I said. I think the inspector is there to observe what's going on, to keep track of the quantities, to make sure we're not paying a contractor more than he deserves to be paid based on what he finished. But the inspector is not conducting the testing that's going on at the asphalt plant. He's not conducting testing that's being done by others. So the inspector is not the sole source of making sure that we get what we expect. He's part of the process.
Okay, and others, I assume, will have their input as well.
Sure.
include yourself. We certainly, we don't want to leave anything out by any means and overlook something that we may not have the background to see.
You bet.
Whereas an expert will.
You bet.
Thank you.
You bet.
Is that all questions? If so, then I will recess.
Thank you, sir. Utility Committee, Alderwoman Sandy Marks.
Okay, I see that we have a quorum, and I'll call this committee to order. We're here to hear reports from Tim Crater, wastewater superintendent.
Good afternoon. Over the course of the month of February, we had 311 Louisiana one-call locate requests. Of those 311, 178 of those were updated tickets done by the contractor. Majority of them were by Leja Construction with the road project. We had 22 work orders followed during the month. Early in the month, we pulled the pumps at 8th Street. One was clogged with flushable wipes and rags and other material. A few months back, we put a pump in there with a cutter to see what how it would work in that environment, in that wet well. We pulled it to see what it looked like. Needless to say, we were researching for another cutter to put in the other place. So it'll eliminate, we think, stoppages at that site. We pulled one at Oddfellows, sort of the same thing. We do have a basket there that collects a lot of material from Walmart, Lowe's, Walgreens, Chili's, all that business area. We have a lot of material, flushable wipes, clothes, things of that, enter that station. It clogs up one of the pumps there. It was both cleared out, put back in service, they're up and running. All of our equipment is in working order and operating at this time. That's all I have. Anybody got any questions? Thank you.
Sandy. I didn't send the email out yet. I'll try and get that either this evening or tomorrow. But next Thursday, I'm planning to have a information tour of the wastewater facility. If you are all available for lunch, we'll serve lunch and
That'll be March the 9th?
yes. And Tim Crater and Tim Nader will explain to us the process of the sewer system as a whole, from collection to treatment and disposal, I guess you would call it, all the way to the bayou. And then we'll take a tour of the facility to see the process. So I'll send that email out to everyone, and obviously I hope that everyone can join us to be able to learn some of the, it's a strictly learning process, so that whenever they talk about the comminutor and the UV system and the pond and whatever else it may be that you're voting on, you're going to know what they're talking about and what its purpose is and why it's there and all that good stuff. So I plan to do that with each department in our city going forward. We're going to start with the sewer department. We may not have lunch at each department, but we'll have lunch at the sewer department next week. As interesting as that sounds, there is a building there that an office building there that is capable of hosting that.
Thanks, man, that sounds delightful.
Yes, ma'am.
One other quick thing, you mentioned the comminutor. The comminutor is on site, was delivered a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, I have a question, Mr. Crater. Are we participating in any health sewer sampling program this time?
Is that what we were talking about this afternoon?
I'm
I
guessing,
think.
I was contacted by the Department of Health. There is a program that is statewide right now, that I presented to the mayor, by email. We
Okay,
met on it today.
okay, I got that same communication, so we could,
So we, Ms. Jessica, we will be, I think that's your name.
okay,
I'll be in touch with her tomorrow. I told her I'd let her know March 2nd.
okay. Well, we'll have something to discuss over lunch.
There you go.
Sounds great.
Okay, moving on, our next report, from city engineer Tim Mayer.
Thank you, Sandy. At the tour next week, we'll give you all an opportunity, if you're interested, at some point, we're gonna do a taste test of the wastewater discharge compared to Marco's water. If you dare. So
Ben may want to be there too.
yeah, Ben will go first. It'll be like the sparrow.
Yeah.
Action items in the utility committee are, there, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are in my report as follows. If you go to page 16, mention the common replacement pump station, at the main pump station project. We have partial payment number 1, which, by the way, today, I was able to send you the partial payment estimate by email for this project, so you can see how we derive these numbers. Partial payment estimate number 1 shows that as of February 25th, 69% complete by time, 40% complete by cost. And I put some asterisks there because you're going to see on the partial payment estimate that it says 1% complete. And that's because that calculation uses pay items to come up with the percent complete. We're paying the contractor in addition to the pay item this month, what's called materials on hand. As Tim Crater mentioned, the common equipment was delivered and it's stored there, and that gives the contractor, I guess, a pretty good shot at completing the project. Once that's there, it just remains to install it. So if you include the value, and it'll be in that partial payment estimate, the value of that equipment would kick that 1% up to 40%. So that, if you notice the difference, 40% is a fair assessment of his progress because that big piece of equipment is on site. What I'm going to do also is, in the past, the word combinator has puzzled a lot of you in past council. I'm going to send you a cutaway of what the combinator looks like. I'll send that by email. And I want to say that the combinator is not, it's like a giant garbage disposal. And any of you that have garbage disposal at your home, probably looking at a motor in there that's maybe a third or a quarter horsepower. And its gear ratio is a lot different than a combinator. The combinator this one is 3 horsepower, and the gear makeup gives it the torque that's needed to cut a brick, to cut a 2x4, to cut into metal. And it's also designed so that if the cutter jams, it reverses and cuts in the other directions, and it'll cut, you keep cutting in both directions till it breaks up with whatever's in its way. So the combinator basically is there to prevent Tim's people from having to clean a bar screen by hand, which is what was being done for the last 15 years. That there used to be a combinator going back to the original plant construction. It eventually lost its life and it was not replaced at the time for whatever reason. And when that happened, the sewer department had to fashion what they call a basket, not call it a bar screen. And that bar screen collects all these things that the combinator breaks up, but it collects a lot more that are as debilitating to the process as these big items like rags and things like that. The sewer department crew had to clean all that out by hand. Very unhealthy, not very safe. And so that's why we went to this extent to do this. So if you would, Partial payment estimate number one has a total value of work done through February 25th at $174,241. $170,000 of that is the cost of the equipment that was delivered, the actual commuter itself. And you'll see that in the partial payment estimate. So the amount of $17,424.10, which is 10% of the work, the value of work done through that date, gives us a total amount due of $156,816.90. So I'm asking you to consider approving partial payment estimate number one to Tullier for the commuter replacement project in the amount of $156,816.90.
I make the motion.
Second.
Ask for
Oh, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next action item on your agenda is item 2, adopting the annual MWPP resolution required under the city's wastewater treatment plant discharge permit. That is a requirement of your discharge permit that you have with DEQ. And every year we have to do an environmental audit. I emailed to you, grab it if I can here. I emailed to you this afternoon. The audit itself. If you were on the council last term, you might recognize this. It's about a 15-page document. Send it to you by email. This is a numerical evaluation of the performance of the sewer facility, and in fact, your entire facility, collection and treatment itself. If you look on page 17, you can see where I have the action, which I'm going to ask that you adopt the resolution, which you should have a copy of in your packet. That resolution looks like this in the packet. That chart, that graph that you see there is a plotting of the audit value, the rating, back to 2006, 2007. The idea of this rating is that you keep that number low. It's like a golf score, the lower the better. And you can see going back to 2006, 2007, we've kept a steady number somewhere between 100 and, say, 200. The worst case evaluation, we're way below the 560 mark. If you were not doing well in any category of that audit, you would approach 560. We're nowhere near that. And you can see over the years that rating has been up and down. You automatically have to add 1 point to the rating just for the age of the facility. So you'll never escape that, but it judges you against the instances of overflows and how the testing parameters fit within the values that keep the environment safe with the discharge. If you have any questions about the audit between now and Wednesday, please call and I'll be glad to explain anything, but it's a lot of greasy math, and again, it's trying to come up with a way numerically to tell DEQ that your plant is performing well, and it is doing very well, and part of that's because you have an experienced operator, and he knows what he's doing. So, unless there are any other questions, I'd like the committee to adopt the resolution for this audit, which is for the calendar year 2022.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion passed.
Okay, next item 3 on the agenda, partial payment estimate number 8 to NCNC for the rehabilitation of the sewage collection system project. On page 19 of my report, you'll see there partial payment estimate number 8 As of, at the top of the page, as of February 25th, the contractor was 72% complete by time, 31% complete by cost, and that's 31% complete without time extension that's coming up as an action item. So we approve that time extension, that 31% would change for the good. Partial payment number 8 estimates the total value of work done through February 25th is $558,078.38. Retainage for labor material liens is $27,903.92. So the total amount due this estimate is $228,385.58. And I'm asking you to approve partial payment estimate number 8 to NCMC LLC for this project in the amount of $228,385.58.
Do we have a motion to approve partial payment estimate number 8?
I'll make the motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
And that estimate was also emailed to you this afternoon. Item number 4 on your agenda is item number 2 in my report, change order number 1 to grant a time extension of, we got the information from NCMC today, they would like a 60-day contract time extension. And in addition, we would need to add some pay items to the contract for some additional work that was not covered in the original plans. And I sent that to you also today by email. You should have a copy of that. I think it's actually been hard copy in your packets. And the amount, the change order amount is $26,813.42. And I would ask you to consider approving that change order. Contingent, I didn't write it in here, but Tessa, if you would, contingent upon LCDBG approval. And that amount of money is eligible under the grant, so that money will be paid for out of grant funds.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the change order number 1 with the grant time extension and additional pay? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Any second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
That concludes the action items I have. Again, be happy to answer questions that you had about the utility committee engineering.
Okay, do we have any discussions? Anyone wants to make a discussion? If not, the committee rests.
Thank you, ma'am. Recreation, Alderman Chuck Ashley.
I'll open up the Recreation Department Committee. I'll open up the Recreation Department Committee. I'll open up the Recreation Department Committee for the 3rd time. A quorum is present. Mr. Peter Kirsch.
Good afternoon. It's officially go time. Our youth recreation, baseball, softball program registration ended Monday. And I'm going to throw out some dates because I want you to remember this. This is going to be about the time of the year where we make a lot of friends and then enemies all in the same conversation. Registration opened up before Christmas, in December of 2022. It was set to be closed February 12th. We understood that we were going through some software changes. We extended registration for 2 weeks. We closed it this past Sunday. Monday, the phones literally melted off the wall. We registered more kids Monday than any one-day period during the 8 weeks that registration was open. We had tryouts, call-outs, evaluations Monday night and last night. We actually have a waiting list, and I know that that sounds funny, but our registration numbers across the board, boys, girls, from 3 and 4-year-olds, all the way up to 13 and 14-year-olds, we're up by approximately 50 children over last year's program. Last year, we were about 463 kids total. I expect by the time we close out and place children on teams, we're going to be around 515, 520 kids total. At some point in time, we just have to pick up the pieces, close the books, and move on, because it's not fair for the other 500 children who were registered and in on time. We have to get uniform bids out, and quotes in, POs issued. Baseball day is April 1st. We are on a very tight timeline. So some of you may or may not get phone calls about we did not allow their children to play. It's not the case. It's just we have to move on. We have 500 other children who are waiting to play. So that's where we're at with that. On a breakdown, our biggest division is our 7 and 8-year-old boys baseball division, which is the Pinto League. We have 110 boys in that one league alone. We have enough children for 10 teams. Right now, we have 8 coaches. So you do the math, that's about 14 or 15 kids per team. So we're trying to get some more volunteers out there. Right, Steve? Put the word out, we need coaches. The next biggest group is our 5 and 6-year-old T-ball division. We're looking at about 105 children. And then you can kind of see the progression go up. When you go all the way up to the 13 and 14-year-old boys division, we have 2 teams. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to consider 3 years ago we had none. Girls 13 and 14-year-old softball, last year we had to refund because we only had 8 girls sign up. This year we have 14. We're on the cusp of 2 teams. We have reached out to Rain Rec, Eunice Rec, Jennings Rec, Youngsville. We're not gonna stop the 14 girls that want to play. We're gonna partner up with those, and we'll give them a good full season in. So we're really excited. We've got great momentum going with our youth programs. This, for the fiscal year, closes out our programming. This is our last one. We ended on a bang, but we saw increases in participation in soccer, in flag football, basketball, and now baseball, softball. So I wholeheartedly feel and know that it has everything to do with the investment that you as a council, previous council administration made in the upgrades, and then you as a council and this administration are continuing to invest in your recreation department. The citizens are showing their appreciation by utilizing the service that we provide. And I want to keep that at the forefront, that recreation is a service. What we're teaching these kids is civic pride, and we're teaching them teamwork, responsibility, and working through adversity. And that's what we do. So with that being said, we also have the business side of things. So as of today, speaking to the mayor, we have signed a contract to move forward with our new restrooms. Speaking to Josh Hubhauer this morning, he is expected to receive that contract sometime either late today if he hasn't, or tomorrow morning. He will then issue the notice to proceed to Mr. L.K. Bro to start construction April 1st. So again, moving forward, moving fast. We will not have restrooms, unfortunately, for the tournament season, but we do have on order, and I'm waiting for right now 6 4-foot by 8-foot signs to place in the proposed restroom locations and in all entrances of the park to show our guests that we do have progress coming to address those needs. So we're getting the word out on that. The roofing project at the Rice Festival building, speaking to Josh Hubhauer again, he is going to issue a substantial complete on that project. So now the contractor has 30 days to file his paperwork and get he's clear of liens and things to present to the paperwork, and we can finally wrap up that project as well. I didn't go up on the roof, and if I did, I wouldn't know what I was looking at, but I'm being told that the contractor did a great job. And I know that the sheet metal work, the caps that they put around the perimeter of the building looks great, but Josh is very pleased with the work that the contractor performed on that project. Tournament season is here. We held our first tournament this past weekend. We had 35 teams that visited Crowley. We have another tournament coming this weekend. Right now, We're expecting anywhere from 55 to 65 teams in Crowley. It's a 71-team tournament, but there is some overflow that had to be shipped over, but we have the bulk of it. We're full. We have a high school baseball tournament, Crowley High, the Gilbert TV Classic tournament. They've been putting this tournament on for a long time. There's going to be 2 high school baseball games at Miller Stadium tomorrow night. There'll be 2 high school games at Miller Stadium Friday night, 2 high school games in Fezos Field Friday night, and 4 high school games at Miller on Saturday to wrap it up. College baseball has been a staple in Crowley. How about that? Didn't think I'd say that 3 years ago. JMU is actually doing well. Last I looked, I think it was like 12-5 in their inaugural season. What's been really surprising is the crowd they draw to Crowley, and then the visitors, the compliments that we've gotten from them. A byproduct of that is kind of a funny story, and I'll keep it short. But we had a team from Mobile, Alabama, in town, had bus trouble. We had a Mardi Gras ball going on at the Rice Festival. It was cold that weekend. Coach was in kind of dire need, didn't know where he was going to put. I think he had 19 college-age young men that were hungry, and just got on the horn, reaching out to our local citizens. And I'd like to thank Supreme Rice Mill, who opened up their conference room at their building and allowed Coastal Alabama University baseball team to get in out of the weather and to stay there until their bus came in from Mobile at midnight to pick them up. Also, Mr. Gaddy's Pizza also provided dinner for the guys that night at no charge. And the coach was taken away, and of course, we told him that that's just what Crowley does. So, we're on the map. We've had, like I said, several college baseball games and softball games, and I'm going to put it out there again as I have for a long time. That one weekend in particular I'm talking about, we had 4 college baseball games in a 48-hour period and 5 college softball games in a 48-hour period. And 2 of the teams were local. We had 8 out-of-town teams, and 7 of them were from out of state that stayed everywhere but Crowley. The one in-state team came from Shreveport. So if there was ever any evidence that we need a hotel, again, I'm begging, please. Tim Mayer, please. It's out there. We have a need, and it's here. And obviously, we're moving forward with the tournament stuff. And the high school tournaments were booked until mid-July. So it has now turned into almost a year-round operation for us, because we did book a lot more softball events this year for youth girls softball. And for those on the council that are familiar with travel softball, that is about an 8 months out of the year venture. The girls don't stop. Boys play football and other things. Girls don't. They play softball. So it's here. Long nights, long weekend, but that's what we built it for. So,
Peter, am I correct saying that some of those college baseball games were visiting local college, next door neighbor?
We did. We hosted LSUE. And Coach Willis has been asking to play in Crowley since we turfed the project, and we had one minor detail to iron out, and I won. And so LSUE came in, they played National Park Junior College from Hot Springs, Arkansas. So we've had college visitors from Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama, all within the last 35 days. So, and more to come. Yes, sir.
Any questions for Peter? Thank you, Peter. Y'all have done a great job. Fantastic job.
One more thing I'd like to say on the record about JMU or John Melvin. We had our evaluations for the youth rec program, and between the 2 nights they had 7 of the ball players out there in uniform helping us direct traffic with the kids. And I think the kids were just a little starstruck to see college baseball players out there. But it was fun, and they really enjoyed it. So thanks to John Melvin Baseball.
Thank you, Peter. Mr. Tim Nader,
Nothing further.
Recreation Department Committee, Best.
Thank you, sir. Zoning annexation, Alderman Sammy Reggie.
Thank you, sir. We do have a committee. We'll start with Mr. Tim Maker for a report.
And my updates are written in my engineer's report on page 22. Have no action items.
Thank you, sir. I have no action items or discussion items, and I will recess.
Thank you, sir. Public safety, Alderman Brad Court.
Thank you, Mayor. For the call to order the Public Safety Committee, quorum was present. And at this time, I would like to note a correction here to the agenda. Items 1 and 3 under discussion should have been listed as action items. Therefore, I move to amend the agenda to change discussion items 1 and 3 to action items. Have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We begin with reports. Chief of Police Troy Abear is absent. He is at a training seminar this week. So we will then go to Fire Chief Louis Romero.
And he's in Baton Rouge.
Okay. And finally, number 3, City Inspector Tony Duhon, who is not present.
He did email everyone, and I've got it here also. Animal control, 93 total calls, 30 dogs taken in, 15 cats taken in, 16 dogs in the shelter, 2 cats in the shelter, 5 cats spayed and neutered, spayed and are neutered, I guess. Code enforcement, 4 sewer issues, 6 tagged abandoned vehicles, 2 unpermitted uses of property. In the permit department, they gave out 20 electrical permits, 4 plumbing permits, 3 repair permits, and 2 plan reviews. Planning and zoning, 6 zoning verifications. Stormwater department finished an audit for the state requirement, and he asked to contact if you have any other questions. I'll tell you that I have been working with both Tom and Mike Landry to start moving some of the blighted properties forward. So you'll start seeing some of those come up in these meetings. Hopefully, really soon. So it's been a long process, but we're getting there. I'm kind of excited about it, but we'll be bringing some up here soon.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Reggie.
I know we're supposed to have an extra person for Mr. Tony. Where are we with hiring somebody else?
Okay, so the budget is the big question. And there's something else that I'm working on with the attorneys. Currently, we use a third party to do inspections, plan reviews, and things of that sort. I'm looking at that third party would like an agreement signed, and I'm working on that currently to see about getting that agreement signed. And he would take care of all of the plan reviews, all of the inspections, and things of that sort. With that, he would help with the blighted property process, and then Tony would do the kind of the code enforcement part, as in the abandoned vehicles, the tall grass, and things of that sort. He could focus more on that stuff. I want to get through this audit and get our finances in order and know exactly what we have before I start hiring new positions, basically. Because again, and the CPA, by the way, will be here next week to give you all an understanding of what she has found and what she is working on with our clerk to get things in order. I'm just really, I'm not comfortable with making employee moves right now until we can get those finances in order. I really believe that if we can get this agreement done with, his name is Cooney. Well, that's not his legal name, but that's what he's known by. If we can get this agreement done with him, I think that will free up a lot of work in City Hall for Tony, and we can move forward on some of the other things that we want to make happen. I've also asked Tom and Mike, I've asked that Mike handle the blighted properties so that it takes it away from Tom's desk and allows a quicker process through the legal department with Mike. So those things are, we're working on them. There's a lot of work to be done in that department. So it's not being looked over, I promise you that. But the extra employees is, and I'm sure the money is there. We have to get the record keeping caught up, and that is, as the CPA will explain next week, is kind of a disaster at this point. It's getting better, but it's catching up from a year ago at least. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Next on the action items, sorry, Mr. Hughes?
Yeah, Rich Hughes. Just to kind of throw my 2 cents into that thing, I know that you had a problem with the budget and wondering if you can hire employees. I know you and I have talked about this, and I believe I talked with you too, Sam. I'm willing, I just want to make everyone know, I'm willing to do it for free until you can hire someone. Right? And just the grass and the jump and that kind of thing, and work with Tony with that. So, okay, the offer's out there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Okay, on the action items, number 1, Mr. Clay Lejeune, attorney representing Fat Boys Grocery and Liquor Store, would like to discuss the issuance of beer and liquor licenses on behalf of this business.
Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. Just a quick reminder, I appeared a couple of weeks back, right after the new year, the new council had taken office. At the end of last year, Fat Boys had, their renewal application had been denied. When the new council took the seat, a new application for a liquor license was presented. We appeared, we made a few concessions to the council. The matter was tabled for a period of time to follow up on police records and to make some proposals. Spoken directly with Chief Abear and the owners of Fat Boys. We addressed one issue, the east side of the building was poorly lit up. We added some additional lights to shine the light on some of the shadows in the area. Fat Boys has made available to the police directly, immediately, 3 cameras that are accessing the parking lot. Those cameras are only accessible at this juncture by pen drive, so I would have to pick them up, but they're immediately accessible to the police. We've talked with Police Chief Abear, who is willing to set up, assuming it's a viable, we think it's a relatively viable option, a closed circuit television directly from the parking lot to the police station so that they can monitor the activity. I don't think they would be expected to monitor it constantly, but at least would have access to review that. And Fat Boys has agreed to take the necessary steps to make that happen, but pending that, they do have 3 cameras that are in the parking lot that have been set up and that they're immediately accessible to recover data. It would be accessible live feed But if there were an incident, or if the police chief would like to do periodic checks, he can pick up and drive at any point in time. That, as a proposal, we'd like to request that the new application be considered within a reasonable period of time.
Question for Mr. Chairman? I have a question. What is going to change with the management to solve this problem that has been ongoing for years about the watering and that on-site consumption? Because I think that's all the complaints the police department had received were during the time when the establishment had a liquor license. I did get the reports from the police department, and from January 1 to February 27th, after the denial of the permit, when they weren't selling alcohol, there were no complaints. So I'd like to know what the management's going to do to alleviate the problem from occurring again.
I'll break that up into kind of the practical solution. I think that anytime you have a bar, a place that serves alcohol or liquor, that there's going to be an increased chance of problems. That I think goes not just in the city of Crowley, but the state of Louisiana, the deep south, probably the entire United States. Alcohol leads to additional problems. I don't think we'll ever be able to alleviate that, especially if people have access to drinking. I do have some history with the council and Mr. Allowee that there was a period of time last calendar year in which there were some problems. Then an active manager came in, cleaned up those problems. She resigned. Then there was some problems again, and then Mr. Allowee, the younger, came in towards the end of the year, and at the end of the year, those problems again had lessened. I think it's going to take an active participant to recognize the issues. Mr. Allowee, the senior, recognizes those issues, but we've all had employees who have done better jobs than their predecessor or need some training. I think we, as the city council, have identified the concerns. The sanction or the potential sanction has been applied. A lot of money has been lost over a 60-day period. I think that Mr. Allowee understands, and if he doesn't understand, I think the consequences of inaction are very clear. And I can't say and wouldn't expect anybody to guarantee that there will never be a problem. There are problems throughout the community at different times, but I think if there is a partnership between Fat Boys and the city police, a cooperative agreement in which the police are not only there, but have access to see the problems and to address those problems, and the ownership can address it knowing that the police are there to support them, and also that the council is there to monitor their behavior. I think it goes without saying that they will take those steps. If you're asking me how to manage a packaged liquor store, I don't know. And I certainly wouldn't try to give advice to anybody. But again,
Sure, appreciate that. Mr. Ashley?
And this is more of a question to the council, or Clay may know, but so if a application is approved, is it approved for a time period, or can it be a 90-day evaluation? Can it be a 6-month evaluation? If things go back to the way they were, it can be denied at that time? How does that work?
The liquor permits or licenses are for the calendar year, January 1 to December 31. There are no partial 3-month licenses available, if you will. The council does have the ability to revoke someone's, but it takes quite a bit of effort on the city's part by having hearings and so forth. far as having a 3-month trial period or something like that, I don't think we have that provision in accordance to the.
I agree with Mr. Core. I think it's a 1-year period. We're already kind of in an interesting overlay because the state alcohol board, APC, has already approved the liquor license, the ability to sell, but the package, whatever, the city council has not. So that license lasts for a year, and the city's permit also kind of rides underneath that. So we've kind of accepted the sanction pending the attempts by Bad Boys to work with the council. As I said last time, Mr. Alloway and his family aren't trying to run from this problem. They're doing the best they can to address it and to be a cooperative partner in making a little living in Crowley, but also recognizing that if their liquor and the loitering is causing additional crimes, that they have a responsibility to that.
Thank you, Clay. Any other questions?
Yes, I have, this may be for Chief of Police. Is there a cooperative agreement with every facility that sells alcohol and liquor in the city? Why just this one?
I feel very uncomfortable speaking directly for the chief. My understanding is, again, please have him correct me if I'm wrong, but in our conversation, he recognized that during some of the shortfalls of officers in patrol last year, that they may not have been patrolling that particular area quite as much as they could have. And again, please, that's a paraphrase and I don't want to. He indicated to me that that was something that he was going to start addressing. And in our discussion, that was something that came up, and I think it was originated by him and maybe furthered by me, but that would be an interesting idea to have access to that parking lot. At present, it would be the first, and Mr. Core and I spoke with Mr. Wilridge this afternoon. We kind of talked about that. So what would this mean, all right, in terms of, does this create an additional responsibility for the chief? I think that the answer could be yes, and it could be no. If he had access to the video, there's no requirement that he would have to employ somebody to monitor it 24 hours a day. But he would be able to check periodically without any real serious effort. Lafayette Parish has set up monitors, closed-circuit televisions all over the city and the parish, and has a team monitoring it full-time. And Mr. Wilridge and I talked, and again, this hasn't been furthered, but a public-private partnership could be a wonderful thing for the city. And I certainly don't know how it would work in terms of logistics or finances, but there are probably businesses, including my own, that would be more than willing to have a camera accessible to the police at will. My office on 7th Street doesn't have a real crime problem, but there's several accidents a year at that intersection. You know, I am certain that it would be really nice for the police to be able to have access to a video. And again, and I can only imagine that in the business of selling packaged liquor stores to a market which may be mostly on foot, that the picking up the 6-pack or the bottle of wine and not walking all the way away is probably a problem. And not just at Bad Boys, but any place in which.
Mr. Legrand, that's a good point. Let me ask, what plan does Mr. Alloway have to address undesirables that come into the facility? Does he assess anything on his own, or does he plan that it's only left up to the city, police force?
You know,
What's his plan?
the last time undesirables was used by Hillary Clinton, it caused all kinds of trouble. So again.
I'm sorry.
So what do we do? I mean, when we're talking about undesirables, we're talking about, how are we even gonna define that? A poor guy who's got a chronic alcohol problem who wants his bottle of wine, is that an undesirable?
Well, it's an undesirable situation with, a situation that creates the necessity to call the chief of police. How do they plan on policing it as their private business?
That's all they could do is call the police. They private right, if something happened, it's the police responsibility after that. And their job is to call the police.
Like, again, there's, this is one I don't know if I'm comfortable talking about, in the public forum, but there are businesses all across this country that cater to lower socioeconomic individuals. And if we're gonna call those people undesirables, then we've got a real
Problem.
really.
Well, I was in there the other day.
Again, I don't, and maybe, I know the
I don't
right woman
consider
who's in
myself
city
an
council is not
undesirable,
desirable to them.
I wanna know that, is that a place that I would feel safe to go back into? With
Did you
any
feel
citizen?
Did you feel unsafe the other day?
Well, yes, I did. Well, for one, because we know that there's been problems there.
They're not
I
selling
took a
alcohol.
chance to go in to see there didn't seem to be a problem at that time. So if they're not that far down from where I live. If I go there to shop for groceries, should I feel comfortable to be able to go in and feel safe?
Again, you're asking the owner of Fat Boys to have a middle-aged white woman feel safe walking into a predominantly black, high-crime neighborhood.
I wouldn't underestimate the white woman.
Again, I'm not trying, again, this is an unfair question. But I'll debate it any
Sure,
time.
and we can, maybe this is the time for that, but nonetheless, I think the point to be made is we want this business to comply with our city ordinances. Yes, there are zero problems, that's not gonna happen. The way that we weigh these facilities is the number of complaints and the type of complaints as they compare to other similar type facilities. Fat Boys has been excessive on the number of complaints in comparison to others. That's the issue I'm concerned with is, surely, if they have problems with calling the police, sure, the police will go out. But I also know that when there are problems, when there have been loitering, they have not called the police. They have not walked outside and told those people to leave. And I guess that's my question is, what are they going to change? Because the other businesses, and I've spoken to those owners, they're very concerned and they have noticed in the last 2 months, things have gotten normal as far as the environment has gotten a bit much better. And they don't want that to reoccur as well as parishioners of St. Teresa Church. That's all I'm asking for is, can we be assured that that will change?
And again, I can only go back to what we had previously discussed, and that during that latter part of last year, when the younger Muthan Ali came on board, and I was post the break, after I don't remember the young lady's name who came and testified before the council. Apparently there was a good period, and then she left, and then there was a bad period. But then the end of the year, everything kind of stabilized again. So again, I think that's the key. I think you have to have a good component part. And I've been assured by Mr. Alawi that he understands the significance of this. Now, that's all I can give you is the assurance that he gave me.
And again, and I would have to assume that, look, the business is gonna fail, all right, if they can't sell alcohol. That's the short answer.
Right.
They're working to salvage a business opportunity. They're willing to work with the community, and that's it. You know, and again, I don't expect the city council to say, we've given you this license and now we've forgiven you of all of your past sins and we're never gonna look at you, with a cross eye again. I wouldn't expect that. I don't think they expect that. That's why they've offered the closed circuit television and the immediate access to the cameras they have now. It's more of a cooperative effort. As long as, again, I think as long as we're doing a comparison, I think we're fine. If we're looking at them in isolation, then I think there's a problem. But again, I would have a problem with that for any business, especially.
So are you saying they do have an in-house plan?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, the in-house plan is, the problem is loitering, all right? That they can control, all right? If the problem is violence in the neighborhood, they really can't control that. Certainly, if they're loitering and that causes violence or that causes drug use or hand-to-hand transactions to spin with, then that's a problem. But again, the loitering statute in and of itself is interesting, especially from a constitutional standpoint. What is loitering? But again, right now we're addressing the city's concerns, and the city's concerns are that if people hang around for too long, drinking booze, then other bad things start to happen after that. Now, I would suspect that, well, I'm not going to try to guess. I haven't been out there at night in 10 years, so.
I think we have a couple of comments on Mr. Gordon.
It's a comment more than anything. Before I would make any decisions, as far as I'm concerned, the chief of police needs to be here. Chief of police is the one that's responsible for all of the policemen and all of their duties and making sure it's done, or if it's not done, then that's on him. Now, in the past, this is not unique. We've had this with a place years ago when I was on council, and the license was not renewed because the guy kept refusing to actually do his part to keep it under control. And the chief, that was KP Gibson, he sat there and he said, can I give you a recommendation to renew this license? And when he said that, I said, well, then that's it. That's what the chief decided. That's his job 24/7. We're not out there patrolling. We don't see it. We're only hearing what we're hearing on the street. I recommend we wait for his, like whatever he would recommend, then we make our decision. And he's not here. So when he's here, let's talk about it again. Because we can talk all night. He's still not going to be here.
True. Mr. Wilbur.
I disagree on that decision.
Well,
Because my problem is.
the chief of police is.
Hold on.
Wait, let's,
If chief died today, we still gotta make a decision.
No.
So,
That's not-
why we gotta wait for chief?
We gotta wait.
Brad knew this a week ago. He could've called the chief and got an answer right there.
I'm calling the question right now. We're done with discussion.
But my question is,
Call the question.
if you wasn't on the council, you wouldn't even go to Fat Boys. Everybody on the council would even go to Fat Boys.
Question.
So, if it's gonna be a spade, it's gonna call it a spade.
The question is being called, there's no.
That's the
motion-
problem.
There's no motion yet on the floor. Does anybody entertain a motion to approve or deny this application?
Y'all wanna sit there and talk about that, but y'all don't wanna talk about the problem with the police department.
Mr. Byron,
Let's talk about that.
Again, do you want to?
Let's talk about they don't even patrol Fat Boys.
Do you want to make a motion in favor of approving this application to the full council?
Yeah, I made that motion.
Do we have a second? Absent a second, the motion
But
fails.
that shows how no good this council is, though.
Is that closed, or can I ask a question?
Well, discussion and questions have been called, but again, this is a recommendation to the, council. And, you know, it could be brought up again at the council meeting with, Chief Abear here, if that's what the council wishes.
Then, yeah.
Yeah,
then I'll
yeah,
say-
it's important to remember that whatever happens tonight as a vote, if you vote for it, it goes to the full council with the recommendation from the Public Safety Committee to vote yes for the full council. The full council can then vote yes or no. And the same thing can happen if the Public Safety Committee sends it to full council with their recommendation that it be denied. The full council can then say yes or no for its denial. So what you do here tonight is not set in stone. It's simply a recommendation of the committee to the full council, who are essentially the same people.
Well, I'll second it.
Well, with that understanding, you're second, so the motion's made and seconded by Mr. Ashby. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
We need you all to say aye if you
We
voted.
need a majority to say aye.
Aye.
So we have how many ayes? Mr. Wildridge and Mr. Ashby. And Sandy, you're going to abstain? Okay. Those opposed? On the Public Safety Committee?
No, she's.
No.
No. So we have 2 in favor and 2 opposed.
And if I may, this is 2 in favor and 2 opposed to send this to the full council?
Yes.
This is 2 votes in favor of renewing this license and 2 votes against renewing this license. And that will be sent to full council
Yes.
as nothing, yes, it's no vote or anything.
Next Wednesday.
Yes. So the full council will then vote on it next Wednesday, yes.
With a 2-2 recommendation?
Well, we can.
Yes, basically.
Yes.
With a no recommendation, I guess that.
No recommendation, correct.
Thank y'all. All y'all.
But then next week, every council member will be able to vote on it.
Yes.
This week, it's only the committee members that are able to vote on it.
I appreciate the time, everybody. Any questions? Bye.
Okay, next, the action item will be, actually, there's number 3 discussion items, but it is an action item, to consider fines for police issued tickets as provided in the attached documents and sending to the full council to set a public hearing on such. And I so move. That was motion and a second. All in favor? I'm sorry, discussion. What we have is a resolution and a proposed ordinance, and I will read the resolution. An ordinance to amend and reenact section 14-1B of chapter 14 of Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances to increase the minimum fine for traffic violations, to repeal all ordinances or parts of ordinances contrary thereto or in conflict therewith, to provide for the provisions hereof to be severable, and to provide for all matters relative thereto. And be it further resolved by the mayor and board of aldermen that the city clerk shall publish the following notice in the Crowley Post Signal, a notice of proposed adoption of ordinance and public hearing, which will be set for, is that April 12th, 2023, in the council chambers.
Yeah, it should be yes.
Okay. And if you look at the ordinance, you will see the various violations and associated updated fines that are listed in each column. And as I understand, the funds have not been increased in many, many years. Many of them were less than $100 during the last year or year before. You know, I was studying this on the previous council and saw that the increases needed to be made. Of course, the expenses and operations of the police department and city court have also gone up, and this is part of the revenue that the city receives from those who violate the ordinances. Anybody have any questions or? Okay, Mr. Reggie.
So this is where it was?
No.
In the front, or this is where you want to go to?
That's where we'll go to.
Go to, okay.
Yes. All in favor? Any opposed?
You didn't get a first and a second.
I'm and Chuck, Jeff. Jeff is second.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure. Okay. All in favor, motion passes. And then, under discussion items, to discuss what the city is doing to curb illegal cooking. I guess it's supposed to be on Saturdays and Sundays. I think, Mr. Reggie, you had presented this.
Yeah, I mean, I was asking the question because, I mean, I've been starting to see people with trailers and we're just setting up on the side of the road practically cooking. I mean, do they have a permit? Who checks the permit? And then assuming that they don't have a permit, who would tell them how to get a permit to be able to do whatever?
And it's not, I guess, make sure I'm clear, it's not just the cooking and preparing the meals, but the sale of those meals as well.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's just a burger trailer, but that's usually what you'll see. Somebody with a trailer and they're cooking burgers and stuff, but is there a permit for them to be there to do that? Or?
Right, and with the health codes as well, to serve to the public in there. This has been an ongoing issue for some time, and we see there's a food trailer pop up on a private lot on the side of the road and selling burgers.
Yeah, that's, this situation has come up numerous times over the past probably 20 years or so. Just about every weekend, there seems to be a trailer of sorts, or a tent of sorts, that set up in, most of the time it's the O'Reilly parking lot and the Dollar General store near 10th Street. But sometimes it's churches, sometimes it's, there's even some of the surrounding volunteer fire departments that'll do it from time to time. I'll have to research that ordinance, and that's going to be a code enforcement deal. The health department certificates that they would be required to have would have to go through the health department. And so in the event they do not have the proper licenses or whatever it may be, historically on a weekend, and it's been my understanding that it would be the police department that would get the call for the complaint and go over there and check for paperwork. Obviously, weekends, City Hall's closed, code enforcement's closed, and historically, that's what I've heard. And so we'll have to do some research on that, figure out what the process is and how we can handle that. You know, there was a question even about, well, are they paying their sales taxes? And you know, most of it is churches. The trailer that sets up at the dollar store most weekends, I believe, is a church that does it. those are all answers I don't have right now. I hate saying that, but I don't have those answers right now. We'll have to do some research and see how we can police that. And I hate saying that the police department will be the ones that are gonna police it because it's weekends, because they're, kind of overworked already with being short-handed. But it's my understanding that's how it has always been. The police department will get the complaint and then go out there and check the paperwork. And I need to check on that. We'll look into it and see what we can do.
And, normally, many times, this has gone on for years, we addressed this at the last council. Normally, there's a violation occurring, there's a public safety hazard potential, and as you mentioned, if a complaint, but if no complaint occurs, no one calls in and it continues to occur, there's no compliance checks. I guess that's what we may be needing to look into is from a public safety initiative to make sure that these trailers and the foods that they're preparing have the proper permits, not just the city permit, occupation permit, but the health code, health permits. Because we certainly don't want someone to be sick from eating food, and of course, those that don't have license to sell are competing with our local merchants, which I don't think is fair either.
Correct.
And they are the fees.
Yeah, and that's obviously, I was speaking with a lady today that registered her daycare in November of last year, and she came in today to pay what she thought was property taxes, and it was actually inventory tax. And she says, I've never had to pay this on my daycare. I said, well, that's because maybe you didn't have a legitimate business before November. And so that's, a lot of people don't realize operating a brick and mortar store, an actual legitimate business, is a whole lot more than electric and water bills. Now she's having to pay inventory tax on furniture and equipment, televisions, just like Sammy's paying for each bar stool and TV and cash register and cooler, and anybody who has a business has to pay. I don't understand it. It was well before me, and I wasn't having to pay it either. But every year you have to pay an inventory tax on the equipment and machinery you have in your business, although you bought it and paid sales tax. But anyway, so it's very unfair to our local businesses who operate businesses, legitimate businesses in brick and mortar stores. It may be something that we need to look at our ordinances, and it wouldn't stop the churches, because the churches could do it on their own property and not on someone else's property, maybe, to allow them to continue their fundraising on their own property. If it's a legitimate church in our city, then they have a church house, and they should be able to do their fundraisers there. And that's something that the council is going to have to look at, and we can do some research on the ordinances to see exactly what our ordinance says right now and how the council would like to move forward with it. But it is an unfair, kind of an unfair advantage to those who are doing it, and it does absolutely take away from some of our local businesses who are open on a daily basis.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Wilbur?
So what if AutoZone get that person permission to use their property?
That's what I'm saying. That's something we have to look
I
at.
understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying.
Mr. Wilbridge, what I'm saying is, we're gonna have to look at that see what our ordinance is saying.
That part is over with. I figured you were gonna say that anyway. But my question is, what's the difference with Crowley High selling at the school board office?
Because Crowley High is part of the school board. Crowley High is owned by the school board.
They still gotta have state license.
AutoZone does not own the churches or the fire department.
They still gotta have their license to sell.
And you're right, I'm assuming they do. And that's why I said we're gonna have to check on the ordinance to see what our ordinance says about that situation. If we have anything in our ordinance that controls that. I don't have that answer, whether or not we have an ordinance that controls that.
So there is a permit that you have to buy regardless of where you set up. I've had quite a few different places that cooked at my Olu, and they had to purchase a permit to come and cook there. So you don't have to go through the health board to have a business, but you do have to purchase a permit, which they also bring in a written consent from the business that they're able to do it in that business. My only question is, what is the difference between a benefit and a business? Because I'm all for the churches, but if you're cooking one time or 4 times in a year, you're doing benefits to raise money for things. If you're doing it every weekend, it's a business.
Point well taken. Okay, anything else? Then the Public Safety Committee recesses.
Thank you, sir. Public Buildings, Alderman Byron Wiltich.
We had a quorum on the action item, non-discussion item, non-so recess.
Thank you, Mr. Byron. Insurance and Personnel, Alderwoman Sandy Marks.
The Insurance and Personnel Committee has a quorum. At this time, we have no action items or discussion items, and the committee recesses.
Thank you, ma'am. Community and Economic Development, Alderwoman Katie Chasson.
Thank you very much. I'll call to order the Community and Economic Development Committee. We do have a quorum present, and there are a few reports that I'll go through very briefly. The Tourism Director's report, Valerie wants to remind everyone about the Rice City Car and Tractor Show, Saturday, April 15th. Registration forms can be found under the event tab, www.crowley-la.com. That was a great event last year, and she's hoping for good weather and a big turnout. Crowley Main Street. Darlene Villageland was recently elected president of the Main Street Board. There was a transformation strategy development strategy session conducted by Amanda Lanato with the Louisiana Main Street that was held last Saturday, February 25th. The group worked to refine a selection, transformation strategies into a defined vision, goals, and measure of success. There'll be more on this as it is developed. The other thing is that the Art and Wine Stroll is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd. The Acadia Parish Chamber of Commerce has some events coming up, and I provided the dates to the committee, and I can provide those to everyone else if you need them. March 23rd is the Legislative Breakfast. March 28th, they have the LABI Legislative Conference Tour, and March 30th is the State of the Parish Luncheon, where we'll hear from the parish officials and all of that. And registration can happen on the chamber website or by calling them 788-0177. The Crowley Garden Club, currently preparing for the Cleanest City contest. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. The judges are expected in the next 2 weeks between March 14th and 17th. We're working to get a definite date on that. The Crowley Garden Club's annual flower show will be on Thursday, April 20th, Friday, April 21st at the Bank of Commerce. West Crowley Beautification. According to Dr. Ezora Proctor, this group has been meeting and making plans to upgrade West Hutchison Avenue with a beautification plan, and they're going to start the Yard of the Month Award again in the near future. The Historic District Committee, the West Crowley Historical Cultural District plans to assist in preparations for the Cleanest City contest as well. For action items, I I'm going to call Jill Haddis forward to talk about authorizing a co-sponsorship with Crowley Main Street for the Art and Wine Stroll on April 22nd, and lifting the open container law during the event hours.
Good evening, everybody. I'm representing Crowley Main Street tonight. As Katie said, we recently went through a series of, we have some new board members. We have 5 new board members for the Crowley Main Street Board. So while it will be a learning process for the new board, it also is exciting to see that there's new people getting involved and helping with the different strategies and development of the program. So I have stepped down as president, but I'm still kind of actively involved. So they asked me to come tonight. I am chairing the Art and Wine Stroll once again. But before I get to that, I do want to let the council know that there is a Louisiana Main Street grant that was just announced today. It's March the 1st. It is a $55,000 grant for any building within the commercial historic district, and all the business owner would have to match would be $10,000 of that. So it's a $55,000 grant, and you only have to provide a $10,000 match. What the grant is geared towards is helping to revitalize vacant properties. So we're hopefully going to reach out to a lot of our downtown property owners that might have vacant structures. Some of our second-story buildings downtown would be great opportunities for future development and growth. So the grant will be posted on the Crowley Main Street website. It will be also announced through the Crowley Main Street Facebook page. And I'm sure Darlene will be sending a press release to Steve at the newspaper. The grants will start accepting the grant applications on March the 11th, and the application deadline, I believe, is April the 15th. So many of you may remember that Crowley was a recipient of another $55,000 grant a couple of years ago. The Egan Hotel was a recipient of that. So it's wonderful to see that through the Crowley Main Street program, through the Louisiana Main Street program, that Crowley businesses and property owners are taking advantage of these grant opportunities. So we appreciate the council and everything you do to help us in our revitalization efforts. And I just want to thank those council members who took a Saturday morning off to come be with us as part of the Transformation Strategy workshop. We really appreciate it. And I also want to publicly thank Mr. Mayor Chad Monso for being at our board meeting yesterday. We do appreciate all the wonderful involvement from the city. So our first event for the year is the Art and Wine Stroll. It is our 3rd time doing the Art and Wine Stroll. It will be held Saturday, April the 27th from 5 to 8 p.m. We are asking once again that the city grant the open container law to be lifted just during the event hours so that people can walk about, and of course the different wine stop locations or in the different businesses. And we also have partnered with the Crowley Art Association, so there will also be art vendors all along the sidewalks of the different streets. So it's a really great event. It's been popular. It's one of our major fundraisers, and it really does help the downtown businesses, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for people just to come together in a smaller event setting and just enjoy our downtown and just enjoy gatherings. So I would appreciate the consideration, and I hope to see some of y'all there. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we lift the open container law during this event.
We have a motion on the floor, seconded by Sammy Reggie. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposition?
Nay.
Okay, there's one. We'll note that. Thank you very much. I just want to say again a huge thank you to Jill. She has worked tirelessly to bring this program to a huge success, and I'm hoping that everyone will continue to move forward with that. But thank you so much, Jill. We appreciate what you have done. 22nd. 22nd, yes, April 22nd. Thank you. The other thing that we need to talk about is the Cleanest City contest that got here very quickly. But we're going to work hard in spite of the fact that the sweeper and the tractor is not working at this moment. We're going to work hard to get that in working order so we can get the city cleaned up. I want to thank Sammy Reggie, who chaired this last year, who has been extremely helpful and basically taking the lead. He has the route, he knows where we're going, he knows what has been done. He and Valerie have gone already, taken some pictures of things that need to be cleaned up and need to happen. So even though we have a short time frame, we're going to get this done. We're going to plan 2 days next weekend, 11th and 12th, Saturday and Sunday, and we'll roll out the times for that to do some cleanup, and we'll invite some of the clubs, the churches, those people that would like to get involved to help us put some finishing touches on cleaning up the city. So we would appreciate that very much. Is there anything else? Yes.
Tomorrow morning, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser will be speaking to the Rain Rotary Club at 7:30. 7 a.m. Is some meet and greet stuff, and then his program starts at 7:30. That is in the morning. So it is at the American Legion Home in Rain. If anyone's interested in attending, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. at the American Legion Home in Rain, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser will be speaking to the Rain Rotary Club. Everyone's invited.
I can't wait to set my alarm for 4:30. Is there anything else? With that, this committee will recess. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Revenue and Finance, Alderman Dickey Lotchley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I open up the Revenue and Finance Committee. We have a quorum present. We have no action items, and we have no discussion items. We have no discussion, the committee rests.
Again, real quick, next week, our CPA will be here to update everyone on the process that's ongoing with the audit and also updating the records for the city. Any other questions? Should be happy to take questions and stuff, but when she comes next week. That's it. Thank you all.
Nice.